The bar was loud, too loud. A woman in a red dress stumbled away from the VIP table. Her wine glass shattered on the floor. Outside, a group of strange men blocked her path. Their voices were mocking. "Come on, Miss CEO, just one more drink." A quiet man stepped forward. He took her hand. "She's with me." He pulled her away from the crowd. Behind them, whispers followed. "Isn't he just her driver?" She collapsed in the car. The next morning when she woke up, memories of last night came flooding back. And she remembered everything he did. Type on her if you believe real men protect without asking for credit. Jack Rowan was 38 years old. He wore the same black suit every day. His job was simple: drive the boss, keep her safe, stay invisible. Most people thought that was all he was: a driver, a bodyguard, background noise. They didn't know he used to be a military officer. They didn't know he could read danger before it arrived. And they definitely didn't know why he took this quiet job in the first place. His daughter, Lila. She was 8 years old. Bright eyes, warm smile. The only light left in his world after his wife died. Every morning, Jack made Lila breakfast. Every evening, he helped with home chores. Between those moments, he drove Clara Voss wherever she needed to go. Clara Voss, 32, CEO of Voss Industries, the youngest female CEO in the city. She was brilliant, ruthless, cold. People whispered about her in the hallways. They said she didn't trust men. They said she was betrayed once and never recovered. Jack didn't care about the rumors. He did his job. He opened doors. He drove in silence. He stayed professional. For 6 months, their relationship was simple: employer and employee, nothing more. But Jack noticed things others missed. He noticed when competitors followed too closely. He noticed when photographers waited outside her apartment. He noticed when business partners looked at her the wrong way. And every time, he quietly made sure nothing happened. A different route, a block of camera, a polite warning. Clara never knew. She thought she was just lucky. Tonight was different. The company was hosting a celebration. A major contract had been signed. Investors, partners, expensive champagne. Clara hated these events, but she had to attend. It was part of the job. Jack waited outside the ballroom, watching through the glass doors. He saw her smile. The fake one, the one she used when she was uncomfortable. An hour passed, then 2. Through the doors, Jack saw a group of men surrounding Clara. They were laughing too loud, pouring too much wine. One of them kept touching her arm. She pulled away. Polite at first, then firmer. Jack's jaw tightened, but he didn't move, not yet. She was still in control. Another hour. The crowd thinned. Clara's smile was gone now. She looked tired, trapped. The same man leaned closer, whispered something in her ear. She shook her head. He grabbed her wrist. Jack was already moving. He walked through the doors, calm and steady. He reached their table and spoke quietly. "Miss Voss, your car is ready." The man looked up, annoyed. "We're not done here." Jack's eyes didn't leave Clara's face. "Ma'am?" She nodded, grateful, exhausted. Jack helped her stand. The man's grip loosened. Jack placed himself between them as they walked toward the exit. Behind them, one of the men called out, laughing, "What's the rush? The night's still young." Another voice, mocking, "Let her driver take her home. Poor guy probably needs to get back to his real life." Jack didn't turn around. He kept walking. Clara stumbled slightly. Too much wine, too much stress. At the door, she whispered, "I'm fine, you can go. They're important clients." Jack opened the car door. "With respect, ma'am, no client is that important." She looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time in 6 months. Then she got in the car. Jack closed the door and walked to the driver's seat. Through the rearview mirror, he saw her lean back and close her eyes. The night wasn't over yet. Where are you watching from? Subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Jack drove through the empty streets. The city lights blurred past. In the back seat, Clara was silent. Too silent. He glanced in the rearview mirror. Her head was tilted against the window. Her breathing was shallow. "Miss Voss, are you all right?" No answer. Jack's hands tightened on the steering wheel. He knew that look. Too much alcohol, too much stress. She wasn't just tired, she was vulnerable. He pulled up to her apartment building, got out, opened her door. "Miss Voss, we're here." Clara's eyes opened slowly, unfocused. She tried to stand and nearly fell. Jack caught her arm. "Easy, I've got you." She leaned against him, barely conscious. Jack looked around. The street was empty. The doorman was gone. It was past midnight. He couldn't leave her here, not like this. He helped her into the building, found her keys in her purse, unlocked her apartment door. The apartment was cold, dark, expensive furniture, but no warmth, no photos, no life. Jack guided Clara to the couch. She collapsed onto it, mumbling something he couldn't understand. He grabbed a blanket from the bedroom, covered her, went to the kitchen, filled a glass with water, left it on the table beside her. Then he took off his jacket and placed it over her shoulders. Extra warmth. He checked the door locks, windows, everything secure. Jack sat down in the chair across from the couch. He wasn't leaving. Not until morning. Not until he knew she was safe. Hours passed. The city outside grew quieter. Jack stayed awake. Years of military training. He could go days without sleep if needed. Around 3 a.m., Clara stirred. Her eyes opened, confused, disoriented. She saw Jack sitting across from her, saw his jacket on her shoulders, saw the glass of water, and in her foggy, half-drunk mind, she jumped to the wrong conclusion. Her eyes went wide. Panic flooded her face. "What are you doing here?" Jack stood up slowly, hands visible, non-threatening. "You were in no condition to be alone, ma'am. I stayed to make sure you were safe." "Safe?" Her voice rose. "You're in my apartment, in the middle of the night." "Miss Voss, I understand how this looks, but—" "Get out!" She grabbed a pillow from the couch and threw it at him. It missed. She was shaking now. Fear, anger, confusion. Jack's voice stayed calm. "I never touched you. I stayed in this chair all night. You can check the security cameras if you don't believe me." "I said get out!" Jack picked up his jacket from where it had fallen. He walked toward the door, stopped, turned back. "For what it's worth, ma'am, I was just trying to do the right thing." He left. The door closed quietly behind him. Clara stood there, breathing hard. Her head was pounding. Her memories were scattered. Pieces of last night flashed through her mind, but nothing made sense. She looked around the apartment, the blanket, the water glass, the chair where he'd been sitting. Then she saw something on the kitchen counter. A note, in neat handwriting. "Coffee's in the kitchen, you're safe." Her hands trembled as she picked it up. What had she just done? The next morning came too quickly. Clara woke up on the couch, still in her red dress. The headache was worse now, guilt mixed with confusion. She made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, tried to remember. Fragments came back. The party, the men, too much wine, feeling trapped. And then, Jack, his voice, his steady hand. "She's with me." More memories. Being in the car, feeling safe, his jacket, warm, her apartment, being covered with a blanket, water on the table, and Jack, sitting in the chair, not moving, not approaching, just watching over her. Oh no. Clara's stomach dropped. What had she accused him of? She grabbed her phone, pulled up the building's security app, scrolled to last night's footage. The lobby camera showed Jack helping her inside. Careful, respectful. The hallway camera showed him unlocking her door, helping her in. She switched to her apartment's interior camera, the one in the living room. There he was, sitting in the chair. For 6 hours straight, he never moved closer, never touched her. He just sat there, protecting her. At one point, he stood up, walked to the window, looked out, checking for danger. Then back to the chair. Clara covered her mouth. Tears filled her eyes. She had thrown him out, called him a threat, when all he'd done was keep her safe. But there was more. She kept watching the footage, rewound to earlier in the evening, the building's exterior camera. There, 20 minutes after Jack had brought her inside, 3 men, the same ones from the party, they'd followed her home. They stood outside her building, talking, laughing. One of them tried the door. Locked. They waited. 10 minutes. 15. Then they left. Clara's blood ran cold. If Jack hadn't been there, if he'd just dropped her off and left like a normal driver, she didn't want to think about what could have happened. She grabbed her keys. She had to find him. Had to apologize. She owed him more than that. She owed him everything. Clara drove through the morning traffic. Her hands gripped the steering wheel too tight. She didn't know where Jack lived, but she knew where he worked. The company garage. That's where the drivers started their shifts. She pulled into the parking lot, saw his car. He was there. Clara took a deep breath, stepped out, walked toward the garage entrance. Inside, mechanics were working. The smell of oil and metal filled the air. She saw Jack near the back. He was checking his vehicle. Routine inspection, like nothing had happened. He looked up, saw her. His expression didn't change. Professional, distant. Miss Voss. Jack. Her voice cracked. Can we talk? He nodded, set down his clipboard. They walked to a quiet corner, away from the others. Clara didn't know where to start, so she just said it. I'm sorry. Jack waited, silent. I watched the security footage, all of it. I saw what you did, how you stayed, how you protected me. She paused. And I saw the men who came after you brought me home. Jack's jaw tightened. You weren't supposed to see that. Why didn't you tell me when I was yelling at you? When I threw you out? You could have defended yourself. Would you have believed me? His voice was quiet. You were scared, confused. Anything I said would have sounded like an excuse. Clara's eyes filled with tears. I accused you of the exact thing you were protecting me from. You didn't know. People react when they're vulnerable. I understand that. But how could you be so calm, so patient? I was horrible to you. Jack looked away, out the garage door, into the sunlight. Because I know what it's like when nobody's there. Clara frowned. Well, what do you mean? Jack was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different, heavier. My wife, Sarah. She died 3 years ago. Clara's breath caught. Jack, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. It happened at a company event. Similar to last night, she was a sales director at her firm. They were celebrating a merger, client dinner, lots of drinking. He paused. The memory was painful. Clara could see it in his eyes. I was overseas, military deployment. She called me that night, said she felt uncomfortable. Some of the clients were being inappropriate. I told her to leave, find a cab, go home. Clara felt her stomach drop. She knew where this was going. She tried, but they followed her, convinced her to go to an after party, said it would be bad for business if she left. So she went. Jack's hands clenched into fists. She called me again, 2 a.m., said she needed help. I was 8,000 miles away. I couldn't do anything. Tears rolled down Clara's face now. Jack. By the time the police arrived, it was too late. They found her in a hotel room. Overdose. The men claimed she took the pills herself. The investigation went nowhere. Insufficient evidence. The garage was silent. Even the mechanics had stopped working. Nobody spoke. But you knew, Clara whispered. I knew. They gave her something, took advantage, then covered it up. And I wasn't there to stop it. Jack finally looked at Clara. His eyes were red but dry. He'd cried all his tears years ago. So when I see a woman in danger, any woman, I don't walk away. I can't. Because I know what happens when nobody stays. Clara couldn't hold it in anymore. She broke down, sobbing. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for what happened to her, and I'm sorry for what I said to you. Jack stepped closer, not touching, just present. You have nothing to apologize for. You survived. That's what matters. But you saved me, and I treated you like someone who was scared and protecting herself. There's no shame in that. Clara wiped her eyes, looked up at him. Why didn't you tell me this before? Why keep it hidden? Because it's not about me. It's not about my pain. It's about making sure what happened to Sarah doesn't happen to anyone else. Clara shook her head in disbelief. You're a better person than I'll ever be. No, I'm just someone who learned the hard way that silence kills, that looking away costs lives. They stood there. Two people, two different kinds of pain, but somehow understanding each other perfectly. Clara took a shaky breath. The men from last night, the ones who followed me, do you know who they were? Jack nodded. Business partners, investors, Richard Cross and his associates. Clara's eyes went cold. Richard Cross, the same man who tried to buy my company last year. The same. He wasn't there to celebrate. He was there to... She couldn't finish the sentence. To compromise you, get leverage, force you into signing the deal. Clara felt sick. And I almost let him. But you didn't. You're safe now. Clara looked at Jack, really looked at him. This man who asked for nothing, expected nothing, just did what was right, every single time. Jack Rowan, you're not just my driver. You're the most honorable man I've ever met. Jack smiled, small, sad. I'm just a father trying to teach his daughter that decent people still exist. Your daughter, Lila. She's 8, asks about her mom every day. I tell her that her mom was brave, that she stood up for what was right, and that we honor her by doing the same. Clara wiped her eyes again. I'd like to meet her, if that's okay. Jack looked surprised. You would? I would, and I'd like to thank you properly, not just with words. Miss Voss, you don't owe me. Please, call me Clara. She smiled through her tears. And yes, I do owe you. You gave me my life back. The least I can do is say thank you. Jack nodded slowly. All right, Clara. She reached out her hand. He shook it. Firm, respectful. One more thing, Clara said. Richard Cross and his friends. They're not getting away with this. Jack raised an eyebrow. What are you going to do? Clara's expression hardened. The CEO was back. I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly who they are. 1 week later, the company boardroom, full of executives, investors, press. Clara stood at the head of the table, confident, powerful, but different now. Warmer. Thank you all for coming. I've called this meeting to address a serious matter. The room went silent. Richard Cross sat near the back, smirking. He thought he was untouchable. Clara pressed a button. The screen behind her lit up. Security footage. From the bar, from her apartment building. Last week, several individuals attempted to compromise me. They followed me home. They planned to use whatever happened as leverage in a business deal. Murmurs filled the room. Cross's smile disappeared. These men are Richard Cross, David Chen, and Marcus Webb, all investors, all predators. The footage showed everything. The men surrounding her at the bar, following her car, waiting outside her building, discussing their plan. Audio played, Cross's voice, crystal clear. Once we get the photos, she'll have no choice. She'll sign the company over. The room erupted, voices raised, accusations flew. Cross stood up. This is defamation. I'll sue, you'll do nothing. Clara's voice cut through the noise like a blade. Because I've already sent this footage to the police, the SEC, and every major news outlet in the city. Cross went pale. You're finished. All of you. Security guards entered the room. They escorted Cross and his associates out. The press cameras flashed. Tomorrow the world would know. After the room cleared, Clara's assistant approached. Miss Voss, the board wants to know what changes you're implementing. Clara smiled. Tell them we're starting the Safe Ride program, company-funded transportation for any employee who needs it. Day or night, no questions asked. And who will run it? Jack Rowan. He'll be director of safety. The assistant looked surprised. The driver? The man who saved my life. That evening, Clara drove to Jack's apartment. She'd been invited to dinner. She was nervous. She knocked. The door opened. Jack stood there, casual clothes, no suit. Clara, come in. Inside, the apartment was small but clean. Photos everywhere. Jack and Lila. Jack and his wife, family, love. Lila ran up, big smile. Are you the lady Daddy works for? Clara knelt down, eye level. I am, and your daddy is a hero. Lila beamed. I know, he's the best. Dinner was simple. Pasta, salad, laughter. For the first time in years, Clara felt like she was part of something real. After dinner, Lila showed Clara her drawings. Jack watched from the kitchen, smiling. Clara pulled him aside. I promoted you today. Director of Safety, starting next month. Jack's eyes widened. Clara, I can't accept. You can, and you will, because you're the only person I trust for the job. What about your driver? I'll find someone else. What I can't find is another person with your integrity. Jack was quiet, then nodded. All right, thank you. No, thank you for reminding me that good people still exist. Across the room, Lila called out, Miss Clara, do you want to see my mom's picture? Clara looked at Jack. He nodded. She walked over. Lila held up a framed photo. A beautiful woman. Warm smile, kind eyes. She's beautiful, Clara said softly. Daddy says she's watching over us. Clara felt tears coming again. I'm sure she is. And I bet she's very proud of your daddy. Lila looked up at Jack. Are you sad, Daddy? Jack knelt beside her. No, sweetheart, I'm grateful. He looked at Clara. Your mom would have liked her. 1 year later, the Safe Ride program launch event, City Hall, hundreds of people, press, politicians, community leaders. Clara stood at the podium, Jack beside her, both wearing formal attire. 1 year ago, something happened that changed my life. I was vulnerable, alone, in danger. The crowd was silent, listening. And one man stayed, not because he had to, not because he'd be rewarded, but because it was the right thing to do. She looked at Jack. He looked uncomfortable with the attention. Typical. Some heroes wear capes, some wear badges. Mine wore humility. Applause filled the room. Tonight we launch Safe Ride, a program that will protect thousands of people, men and women, anyone who needs help getting home safely. And leading this program is the man who inspired it, Jack Rowan. More applause. Jack stepped to the microphone. I'm not a hero. I'm just a father trying to teach his daughter right from wrong. He paused, looked out at the crowd. My wife, Sarah, died because nobody stayed, because people looked away. I started this job promising myself I'd never look away again. His voice was steady, strong. This program isn't about me. It's about Sarah. It's about every person who needed help and didn't get it. It's about making sure that from now on, someone will always stay. The crowd rose to their feet, standing ovation. Later, after the speeches and photos, Clara and Jack stood outside. The city lights reflected off the glass buildings. Lila ran up. She'd been with Jack's sister during the event. Daddy, they said you're famous now. Jack laughed. I don't know about that. You are. Miss Clara said so. Clara smiled. Your dad is very special, Lila. Lila hugged Jack's leg. I already knew that. Jack picked her up, looked at Clara. Thank you for believing in this, in me. You saved me twice, Jack. Once from them, once from myself. You just needed someone to believe you still deserved good. Clara's eyes filled with tears, happy tears this time. We both did. They stood there, 3 people, a family in a way, not by blood, but by choice, by honor, by second chances. Jack's voice, quiet, reflective. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting, it's remembering and choosing better. The camera pulled back, showing the city, the lights, the movement. On Jack's car, a new nameplate, engraved words. Director of Safety, Jack Rowan, and below it, smaller. Integrity is still the highest rank. The screen faded to black. Subscribe if you believe decency still matters, even when no one's watching.